Good morning or good afternoon, whoever is listening to me or watching this video. My name is Christine Mayambala, Dr. Mayambala. I am a microbiology instructor. Actually, I teach other classes besides microbiology. I've also taught human anatomy and physiology. My primary student population is nursing students and many other allied health professionals, biology majors, any student who has a prerequisite to take microbiology and human anatomy and physiology. I'm your girl. So this first video is going to explain to you why you even have to take microbiology. Over the years, I've taught many students, and they come into the class with extreme fear of this class. And I think it's because probably they have heard by word of mouth from other past students that it's a difficult subject. It is a difficult subject, and of course, any technical material, really, you need to take time to digest it. But my personal feeling is that it all depends on your instructor and how they approach presenting the material to you, how they approach explaining the material to you, and help you or guide you in how to kind of like digest it in small bites, which is my whole intention, to give you small bites of microbiology. I'm a mother, so I can give you the example of feeding a baby. Give the baby small spoonfuls that they can swallow, which is what I do with my class. And by the end of the semester, on the local campus that I teach, by the end of the local semester, many students come to me and say, Dr. M, I am surprised I enjoyed this class. And you really can enjoy microbiology. So I'm going to, when I'm preparing these videos, I'm going to try and include the PowerPoints that I'm covering so you can follow along. I think it's easier that way to, so we're on the same page. And then, of course, if you have questions, you can always, send them to me. Now, again, like I said, my background is I'm a medical technologist, a licensed medical technologist. I practiced in hospitals and reference labs for years. Then I also picked up more courses in infectious microbiology when I was taking public health and epidemiology. So I'm telling you all of this, to convince you or assure you that the material that I'm presenting to you and the way I'm explaining to you is from my vast experience over the years. And I like to give examples in my classes because there's no better way to learn new material, especially difficult material, than being able to relate it to actual life. And I love microbiology, teaching clinical microbiology, because there's so much of it around us. So if you're a nursing major, you would need to understand the things that you're asked to do. Wash your hands, put your gloves on, practice aseptic technique. We go into all of that. And when you see from that angle, then it'll be more interesting than fearful. Okay. With that said, the second slide so the first slide I have here is talking about why take microbiology. And again, I just kind of went over that. Many students would tell me, I just want a nurse. That's all I want to be. Unfortunately, in order to be a good nurse, you have to understand things like why is the doctor asking you to do things a certain way? Why a certain test done in a certain way? And again, there are a lot of reasons why you really need this class. Before I get into the rest of the slides, it's going to be pretty short, just a few slides. I do want to emphasize that students need to remember the topic microbiology, of course, covers microorganisms, but it's a very broad subject. It can cover all types of microbiology. It can cover soil microbiology if you're looking at organisms that maybe affect your plants. If you're a farmer, you can talk about food microbiology. If you're working in the food industry, because they also have to practice some of these techniques, aseptic techniques, in order not to contaminate any food they're packaging. We can talk about a therapeutic microbiology, where we look into certain drugs that are prepared for certain infections. Different environmental microbiology, So it is a huge field. So I just decided that I need to concentrate on a narrow one of the aspects of microbiology, because most of my students are usually allied health professionals, aspirants, or pre-nursing students. And this is an essential class. Clinical, specifically clinical or medical microbiology is what I want to target or to concentrate on. But remember that there are other branches of microbiology, but I just want to kind of narrow it to those students. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Let's see. Okay, where's my slide here? Just a minute. Now, on the second slide, again, just to show you a picture there of the digestive system. You can see the liver, you can see the stomach, and you can see the small and large intestine. Now, why do I have this slide over here? Okay, it says, do you ever wonder about all the unseen life living on your skin, on your inside? Yes, we have these little bugs all around us, and again, surrounding that digestive system structure is various types of microbes that you can find on our skin, in our eyes, and in our digestive system. But I'll go more into that because, just because they're there does not mean they always cause problems. We will go into the details of where you talk about a normal microbiota versus pathogenic microbiota. Again, we'll go into that, but right now I'm just kind of giving you a taste. So you need to understand the organisms of skin. When are they okay to live on your skin, and when do they become dangerous? So we're going to learn that in this class. The next slide, again, is kind of like explaining to you what are these microbes. The class is called microbiology, which is defined as the study. Anytime you see a word with ology on the end, it means a study of something. In this case, a study of microbes, microbiology. Okay, so what are what are those microbes that we want to study in this class? Well, those are all those little organisms. The word itself tells you micro indicates they're very tiny. In other words, they're microscopic. You need to use a microscope to see them, to see most of them except one group that I'll go into later on. So everything we do in this class is primarily involving, it's going to require a microscope to see many of these organisms, at least in the early stages. We do other tests in addition. Now, I do have to give recognize this group because I use their slide. It says Ocean Leadership. They have a link there that you can go to, kind of like will give you further explanation of what microbes are anyway. But again, those are any living organism that is too small to see with the naked eye, but it is surviving on your skin, in some part of your body. It's called a microbe. And again, for all of those, you need a microscope to be able to see them and to identify them. Again, slide 3 again just goes basically kind of like a repeat of what I just said. What is microbiology? It's defined as a study of living organisms. In other words, these organisms, these tiny little creatures are alive, but they're too small for us to see visibly. But that doesn't mean they don't cause problems, as we know very well. That's how we get infections. We have this virus around us. We can't see it with the naked eye, but we know it's causing all kinds of problems. Now, one of the first things you really need to kind of like make sure you understand clearly from the get-go is the fact, those microbes fall into 5 major categories, the ones that cause disease. And those 5 categories are, they can be bacteria, they can be fungi, they can be viruses, and they can be protozoa or other parasites and worms. That is a larger end of these microbes. Now, bacteria, I'll give you an example. If you have salmonella poisoning in your food, you left your potato salad out too long, and some of the salmonella got into it, you end up with salmonella poisoning. So there you go. My microbiology lab is going to try and identify that salmonella in the food that you ate, as well as your probably a fecal sample that you give, to see if they can find that bacteria in there. If fungi, for those of us who wear nail polish, If you don't take care of those nails, you let them go too long, you can get a fungal infection under your nail, and then the nail technician will tell you maybe you need to leave your, your nails to do some breathing before you add on more acrylic coating, or the gel, which is the most popular one nowadays. Of course, you have a child and they have a ringworm that could be, ringworm can be a fungal infection. So, and definitely viruses, the biggest virus going around now, of course, is coronavirus. Coronavirus, COVID virus. It's a virus. We don't see it. We can't see it with the naked eye, but you can see how it has disrupted our whole way of life. Then there are other viruses, of course, HPV, HIV, which was very big in several years ago. HCV, just so many different viruses. The flu virus, all of those, they're one of the categories of microbes that can be studied in a microbiology lab and that can be identified in a microbiology lab. So again, on this slide, I said, what is clinical microbiology? Clinical is an important part for you guys in these videos. Is concentrating on that microbiology that involves a clinical setting, that will involve clinical disease or clinical identification and things like that. So it's studying an organism that can cause clinical disease. So this next slide kind of gives you an idea. These microbes that cause disease, they're everywhere. I kind of just said that before. They can be in the soil and they can be on your skin. I put this picture here because it just shows you. Now this is an extreme case of a microbe that entered through the foot and ended up causing all kinds of damage to the toes. I don't know if any of those toes are something salvageable. That probably the person could end up losing all those toes. It just gives you these are caught from the soil. If a person is working in the yard, in the soil barefoot, but more importantly, in the tropical areas where people can go around with barefoot because the weather is nice. Unfortunately, if you have a combination of walking barefoot or wearing sandals and you walk in an area that has contaminated soil or contaminated water, muddy water, people who live in the tropics, we're familiar with those situations. They're quite common. Little kids, they're running, playing in the mud, playing in a muddy area, and that area, that soil or that water has some organism that could end up causing disease, so they could end up with that organism entering their foot. We'll see some other organisms like worms that do the same thing. And an example, these microbes that cause disease can also be in the water. I mentioned that. Again, these are very common in the tropics. And again, one has to be aware of, now these are the higher end, the largest end of the microorganisms. They are much larger than viruses and bacteria. But the reason we include them in this category is the fact that their eggs are microscopic. In fact, one of the areas in microbiology that we study is ova and parasites. That's one of the tests that is used. A person may give you a sample for microbiology testing. The doctor suspects some kind of a parasite. They may not necessarily see the worm itself, but they may find the eggs of that worm, because the worm, leaves eggs, and those eggs develop into a little baby worm, if you want to call it that. So this is an extreme example of that. In this case, they're kind of like pulling the worm out of someone's leg, and this can be quite common in the tropics. In those areas where it's warm enough that people can go barefoot, combined with the fact that in some areas people cannot afford to buy shoes. So the combination of those two factors can lead to a worm infection, and if not attended to, it could lead to severe consequences, including amputation, including lymphedema, blocking your lymphatic system. So all of these reasons, a student needs to understand how microbiology plays a huge role in our lives, our everyday lives. And of course, in this next slide, we're seeing everyone wearing masks now. Sometimes, some countries, people were wearing masks because there was too much smog in the air. They don't want to breathe in all that air pollution. But now, in addition to trying to prevent air breathing in polluted air. Now we're worrying about breathing in air with COVID virus. And again, this is another category of those microbes, a virus that is in the air and can enter our body, and we'll look at that. So again, I'm trying to just show you the relationship between microbiology, what we study in microbiology, and the things going on in our environment. So if you approach this class from that angle, it'll become very, very interesting. And hopefully I will try to make it fun for you. So with that said, I think this is the end of the few slides to give you an idea of what we're covering. Again, I'm going to give you this information in small bites so that you don't get too overwhelmed. If you have any questions, you can always send me a message, and we'll try to tackle it.